It's two generations, one mic. My name is Mark. This is Andie, or Andie, since nobody can pronounce that name. So, if you haven't already, please help us with the algorithms. Like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube and most podcast channels. We're there. So please find us. Social media as well. Engage with us. Ask us questions. We're more than happy to answer them and follow the discussion as we move things along. If you'd like to hear us talk about something in particular, we're happy to do that too. The basis of this show is supposed to be like relationship oriented. But we talk to other people about interesting things, but we'll always keep coming back to relationships and things like that and how that interacts with whatever else you do in your life as a couple or by yourself.
But why? Because you and I are married. We've been married for
20-something years. You're way ahead of yourself, woman.
We are separated by a 25-year gap. We've been married for 10 years.
Yeah, 27 years. 27 years. I would be in prison. I would be in prison.
Yeah, that's true.
If that were the case.
Yeah, you'd be in jail.
Yeah.
Sure. And we have a 25-year gap, right? And today's episode, we are going to talk about romanticizing parenthood and growing in a fragile society. And I really want to talk about this because I think that's, for us, that we've been married for so long. Everybody keeps asking me, when are we going to have kids? We don't have kids, ours, like together. You have kids from previous marriages that are adult kids. You also have grandkids, right? And to me, I'm 36 years old, but I still feel like sometimes I need an adult with me. I don't feel 100% like an adult. I have my own business. I run an international company. I can take care of my mom. I can take care of you. But to me, sometimes like thinking about caring for another, like a growing human, I just don't feel confident or interested in it. And a lot of people keep asking us, when are you guys going to have kids? We may not want to have kids. I may not want to have kids. And it's okay to respect that. And I get mad when people ask me, well, but who's going to take care of you when you're older? That's why you're having kids? Is that why you're having kids? So you have somebody to take care of you when you're older? I've thought about that. Tiffany's going to take care of me when I'm older. I'm going to take care of her. We're going to have
because my daughter Tiffany, also 1 year older than you, but my daughter Tiffany is also very similar. She wants no children. She has no desire to have children. And she can barely tolerate being around other people's children for only a certain period of time.
Exactly.
Because she gets very nervous about that. And so she's like,
so we made a deal.
Cool.
I'll take care of her. She'll take care of me. We'll have cats and dogs and all the animals in the land. And that's I haven't thought that far ahead in my life. So at this point, I feel like not because we have a stable relationship. Can we afford a kid? Yes. Do I want it? No.
Well, you also don't have... You don't, honestly, it's true, but you also don't have the time. And
right.
it's again, everybody has personal choices,
Absolutely.
Which is, there's nothing wrong with either choice. If you want to build your career separately and that's all you want to do, that's fine. If you want your career to be a homemaker, a mom, a homemaker, and do nothing else, that's fine. If you want to do both, try to have a balanced career of being a homemaker, a mom, and also having a career, you can do that too. It's your choice. And you shouldn't be afraid or ashamed of any of those three choices. It's all what you want to do and how that mixes with your family.
But I agree.
But you have no desire to do that. And your goal is the first one. Your goal has been, and since we've been together, is build, and we own an international business, international beauty brand. But your whole thing is, I'm building an empire here. That is my goal. I am building an empire that a big company like a L'Oreal or a P&G or somebody's going to swoop in and write a big check for one day. And I can't do that if I'm worried about taking care of another human other than my husband is trying to keep healthy and my mother who lives with us. So I can't even imagine you. And again, I think everybody has their own situation. So if that's the choice of women, that they have small children, they have their lives, and they have that traditional life, most of them, someone doesn't call them and say, hey, by the way, I need you to get on a plane to Singapore tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And then from Singapore, you need to go to Taipei and then also Bangkok and then run back through Amsterdam for a day and then down to Paris and then back home to Madrid or something. They're not living a life like that.
Right.
They are living the traditional, go to work at this time, we have the kids, we pick them up, they do the sports or they do the ballet or they do whatever activity, we have dinner at this time.
Yeah, but
and they do
maybe
the
that's
traditional
not
American
what they
lifestyle.
wanted to do. Maybe I personally have met so many people with
Mhm.
kids that, I mean, we travel a lot. We always talk to different people, and again, my husband is chatty Cathy. He loves to engage in conversations.
I'm from
and
Texas originally, and that's the law. That's what we do. We go talk to people we don't know when we make friends.
You're all nosy. That's what that's what it is.
Maybe.
And sometimes we talk to people, and when they have kids, and yes, they love their kids now that they have them, but they really didn't want to have them to begin with. It was not in their plans.
It wasn't in the original plans,
It
maybe
was-
at that time.
Right. So
to have them.
I think, and in Spain, it's a whole different story. Women, Spanish women, have kids in their 50s.
Yeah, 40s and 50s.
40s and 50s, because this is the time where they feel that they partied all they wanted, they have a career they want, they traveled all they wanted, and now it's the time to have kids. So that to me, whether I understand it may be not as good. I mean, I can't imagine myself at 50 having a kid because my knees hurt now. God knows what's going to happen then. But to me, that's when you should have a kid, right? When you already accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. I've known so many girls that have kids and they can't wait for the grandparents to take care of the kids so they can go out because they have the kids, or they don't. I don't know, babe. I just sometimes people tell you, oh, you have a great relationship, we're married, you should have kids. No, we shouldn't, if that's not what we want at this point in
Right.
life.
They think that that's the way it should be for everyone. And when it's not, it's a personal choice of what you want to do. And it doesn't define you either way on what choice you make.
And today and nowadays, back in the day, women were homemakers, and yes, women will stay at home, the husband will go out to work and come back, and the woman will take care of the kids. But today, not only as a woman you have to be a mom, you have to also work. You also have, unless you marry somebody rich, making it work as a family and give them good life. Both parents work, and the life of the woman I just feel like it's put behind. I see a lot of my friends that have kids. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any makeup, I don't have any time to do this, I don't have any time to do that, I don't have any time to do this. And they're happy. Some of them are happy with it, but some of them are not. Some of them, I think, out of my all the people that I grew up with in school, I think just 2 of them are the ones that have planned to actually have a kid and wanted to have kid at the time they got it. Because all the other ones were it just happened, and now their career doesn't take off and they regret that. And they take that kind of like on the husband, I guess, and on the kid. So I don't know.
So they blame them.
They blame them, and they just
Subconsciously they blame the husband and the child a little bit
Right.
because their career dreams weren't fulfilled because they had to
Exactly.
step back and be a mother.
exactly.
And
And now they have to have another job that kind of like can
help support the
yeah.
family, but not really what they wanted to do for a career.
exactly.
So they're disappointed in their own personal development because they had to take the choice of doing something else.
Exactly.
Instead.
So, and yes, again, they are married, they have a stable relationship, but that doesn't mean you have to have a kid. My mom still asks me, are you planning on having kids? I don't know, Mom. And I mean, after your cancer treatments and everything, you can't have kids. We can't have kids together.
Yeah,
That's a
right.
thing.
Well,
Like,
first of all, I had a vasectomy years ago, but then after that, and I've mentioned this in another episode that 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, maybe 5.5, 6 years ago, I got diagnosed with prostate cancer, and we're going to do a whole episode about that for men, is what that entailed, what I went through, what you can expect, and what you should do in that case. But because of that, I had to make a couple of decisions on that. And if I had just let it go, I would be dead by now because it would have spread. They call prostate cancer the silent killer for men for a reason, because they generally don't know they even have it until it's too late. And if it spreads, it's too late. You're done. And sadly, at that time, I had many, many friends reach out and had either been diagnosed with prostate cancer as well, or and had a chance to treat it, or it was too late. They found out too late, and they have since passed on. And that's the thing that I put my whole journey on my social media on purpose, for a reason for that. And I would have friends say, "Why are you sharing so many personal details about what you're going through?" And I said, "You know what? It doesn't matter to me. If it saves one man's life, one person's life, and helps their family, then it's worth it. It's worth it, me telling my story. Because if you catch it in time, you can save your life. And
we'll do a whole
and that's
episode
important.
about
We'll
that.
do a whole episode on that. But because of that treatment, I had to do either surgery that had a lot of complications there that weren't going to be fun for the rest of my life, or I could have intensive radiation therapy. And I had to take female hormones too. That's a whole other story. So I had to do that for 6 months. And then I had intensive radiation treatments, targeted radiation therapy, and 5 really, really intensive treatments over 2 week period, 2 in 1 week, 3 in the next. And when I say intensive, I mean so much that I could not walk or even sit up minutes or 20 minutes after I'd had it done. It was brutal. But part of the side effects from that, unfortunately, even if I had not had the previously had the vasectomy, was that I can't have children ever again. Like biologically, I couldn't make a child.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just not a thing. So you would have to. We've talked about this before about okay, maybe if we were going to do that, could they do
We'll adopt.
we'll adopt, or
But I'm not ready for that. And people keep pushing me, and I am not ready for that. So I believe me, I am amazed by all these women and all these men that can actually balance work with their kids and are actually happy with them, and the kids are happy, and I admire that, because in my head I can't figure out the combination and how to make it work. But I just feel like a lot of people also, yeah, a lot of people they're not ready to have kids, and they didn't want to have kids. And on a fun fact, do you know that women, like the US, is the number 1 country with female alcoholics? That's a fun fact. And that's a lot of them. That's the only way that can bear their kids, when they have alcohol on.
Well, there's the wine culture. A lot of women are drinking wine in the afternoon.
Yes, but it's because this is it. This is the way to decompress. And they can only stand their kids when they have alcohol in them. And to me, I like alcohol. I like to have a drink, but I wouldn't. That to me, it's not a thought, right?
Right. And you're not talking about all women here. You're talking about.
I'm just talking about 12% of women.
Yeah.
In the U.S., 12% of women are alcoholics in the U.S.
And the main reason of that is they're trying to deal with their family, stress and structures and their lifestyle. Yeah.
And that's an interesting fact. But why I brought that up is because as long as people keep trying to tell us, oh, you want to have kids or not, people here, they judge you so much. They just want to give you, like, when we go out to have lunch and we're having wine at noon, people are judging us.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's one of the reasons we really like living in Europe, our European living much better, because it's a different lifestyle. They're not drinking glasses of tea. They have tea in a bottle, but everybody at every table in the restaurant, they have a glass of wine or they have beer. People drink alcohol.
And they go back to work.
And they go back to work. It's
like
not a big
nothing
deal.
happens.
Yeah. In America, it's like, oh, how dare you be drinking this early?
I know.
They're very judgy and
But-
like what you should be doing.
I think it's part of that fragile society we're in, that everybody has to judge what you do. Everything you do is wrong. And I don't want, and maybe that's the part of why I don't want to have kids yet, because I don't want my kids to grow up in today's world where everybody judges you. God forbid, all these kids now with social media, they have high standards to follow. And to me, I don't know what being a teenager is nowadays, which should be super stressful. And also, I will put a lot of pressure in my kid, right? I will never be, I don't think I will be part of that participation trophy culture that no offense, but if you don't win, you don't deserve a trophy or a medal.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm very old school. I played sports from the time I was 5 all the way up through school. I coached sports. I coached baseball for my kids' baseball teams and stuff like that. I was never let's get participation trophies for people. I'm from the school that was like, you play, if you want a trophy, you win the division. You win, you get a trophy. Because we're not supposed to be raising a culture of participators. We're raising a culture of winners. And sports is about teamwork and learning how to do that. But you also, the American thing is to win. You want to be a winner. And I don't think you're sending a bad signal that if you didn't win, you're a loser and you don't get anything. But you get the
But that's life.
but you got to learn. Yeah, everything's not handed to you on a silver platter. You have to go work for that. You have to put in the effort to get that. And I remember even back when I was coaching baseball, and this is years ago, I used to get really irritated at some of the team moms because they were like, oh, showing up and, oh, here's your juice boxes and here's your snacks. And I was like, okay, look, thank you. We'll do that afterwards. Right now, we're still practicing, and these kids need to worry less about the snacks and the juice boxes, and they need to worry more about how to catch a ball, how to throw that ball, and how baseball works.
Right.
So that to me was the bigger priority. Then we have the snacks and we have the parties and things like that, and I'm all for that kind of thing. But again, I don't like participation trophies. I don't like that generation. I don't like that generation
either.
of people that we've got to make everything fair and it's participation, and it's just, to me, it's just whiny. I don't like that whininess. I'm about, let's have a competition. Let's have a clear winner. That's why I can't get into your country's sports. Soccer, many other things. They call it football, but I still call it soccer. I can't play an entire game that ends in a tie. What's the point? So it's like, you need to have some sort of winner on a game. If I just invested 3 hours of my time, I want to see somebody win a sporting event.
Well, it does. Usually it's because it's tournaments, and in tournaments, like, you rack points. And
Right.
Like the World Cup.
But how many times people tie? I don't like ties. That's not a thing.
That is true.
You need a winner.
He asks at the end, okay, they tied. So now what? I'm like, the game is done.
Oh, don't get me started. And then don't even get me started on that, how your clock in the game goes forward instead of backwards. That makes me nuts. I'm like, well, how much time's left? Well, you got to do the math. Why do I need to do math? Just run the clock backwards so I know how much time's left in the game.
Just do the math. 45 minutes, 2 times 45 minutes.
And then let's add some extra time. We don't know what that's going to be, but it's just,
do the
all these
math.
rules are just willy-nilly. I don't like that.
No, they are rules in soccer. Just
I don't like that.
But going back to I don't want my kids to grow in this culture. Believe me, I was raised by a very strict mom. My mom was very strict. I'm the only child with my parents' marriage. I have half siblings, but with my mom, I was her only child, and she always told me that either you come home with the best grades or the worst grades. Don't come here within the middle. And that has been embedded in me, that either you're the best or the worst. Just don't be mediocre. And maybe today, whatever we're growing and everything in today's world, it just feels like everything is in the middle. Maybe it's just my thought process. And when I was talking to our friend Cherry that lives in Taiwan. We were talking about the difference in cultures and how the kids in there in Taiwan, that's a other extreme, right? That everything they do, nothing is good enough. So they grew up thinking that they're not good enough. That whatever, even when they're the best, and that's why they excel. China is the same. When they excel in things, Japan thing, the same. They excel in things. You're not good enough. And I don't want both parts of the spectrum. I don't want to be. I wouldn't want my kid to be raised in that culture, but I wouldn't want my kid to be raised also in like, oh, you failed. Good job. You can try again tomorrow. Yes, you can in life, you can. But that teaches you not to be maybe
Not strive enough to
not
win.
strive, right? It doesn't
Because
give you a
you're
goal,
gonna get a
trophy either way.
trophy either way.
Exactly. So what's the point? What are you making an effort to win? And it just in Europe, for example, we see that with the kids, right? How Asian, all these in Spain, for example, all these not grocery stores, how kind of like bodegas, right?
Yeah, it'd be like a little fruiteria.
Convenience stores.
Well, it's not even. It's like a fruiteria where they sell fruits and vegetables and things like
And
that.
also
You're
the
talking about-
convenience stores,
yeah.
kind of like the bazaars where they sell a lot of things. All these are run by Asians, by Chinese
Yeah, a lot of Chinese people who work harder than anybody that I've ever
These
seen
people
there.
work
They work
so hard.
nonstop 7 days a week.
Exactly. And they have their kids after school working there. I've seen the kids charge for my card, like this 5-year-old
Yeah, 5-year-old kid is working in the
is
store.
working at the store.
Running your credit card.
Running your credit card. And to me, I'm like, dang, what was I doing at 5? Not charging credit cards for my mom's business, that's for sure. But to me, I just think it makes you maybe try, I don't know how to describe it. It makes this culture more to teach the kids to be more responsible and maybe take care of knowing the business, and maybe they have to do homework, because I see the kids doing homework too. Like they are doing homework and they're also charging the cards at the same time. So sometimes I ask the kids, oh, what are you doing there? Because they also speak fluent Chinese and fluent Spanish, better Spanish than you speak.
Right.
And they're doing homework and also working with their parents. And I just don't think in America that will be a thought. In the U.S., like if you have a business, you will not have your kid working there with you.
Yeah, I think it is definitely an Asian cultural thing in a lot of that, because even one of our favorite restaurants, there's a bartender that we know, and as I'm talking to him for the first time a few weeks ago, I said to him, I said, we were talking about sports and everything, and it came out that he graduated from Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, wow, you went to A&M? He says, yeah, I have a degree in biomechanical engineering. And I said, and why are you bartending? He said, because my dad owns the restaurant.
Exactly.
And he wants me here to learn.
And
He's
take
in his
care of the
70s. He
business.
wants me here to learn the business. I guess maybe he's going to take over someday. I don't know what the plan is, but I mean, that's the Asian cultural thing, is that you come back to the family business no matter what you're doing and learn what we're doing here in case you have to help someday. And so he's in the restaurant now.
So you guys tell us, like, if you guys have like Asian background or anything, like here in the U.S., is it different, or is it also the same, where your parents always want you to excel in everything and they teach you that maybe you need to take over the business or everything? So
I would also like to know that if you've had an experience where on the other side, like, what do you think is the appropriate thing? What works for you? Are you a participation trophy parent? Feel free to argue with us and tell us why you think that's important. I'd like to know that. So please comment,
yes,
subscribe, like, follow us, and engage with us and tell us, defend your position. Why do you think, or what
Also,
are you
is it
teaching your
okay to
children by
drink?
giving them participation
Is
trophy?
it okay to drink at noon? I think so. I mean, if you don't have a problem, I mean, if you're not waking up at 6 a.m. to take shots of vodka, I mean, having a glass of wine at lunch, It's fine,
Yeah.
right?
Again, I think that's because they're going back to work, or they have to go do a kids function, or they're doing something else. Maybe they don't feel comfortable doing that. But that's definitely a cultural thing, difference of Europe versus America, where everybody drinks in the daytime. It's just a thing. Everybody drinks
But
all day.
it's funny to me because in America, especially here in the US, I mean, number one, if you're 18, you can't drink. You can vote, but you can't drink. To me,
No.
that's you can buy a gun, but you
Yeah,
can't
you buy a
drink.
gun, you can vote, but you can't drink a beer.
And then when you guys can drink, you guys go way overboard. Like
Yeah.
you go bananas with the drinking. Like look at all these kids in spring break and in
Yeah.
frat houses and all these parties. And what's that about? Like, is it because like it's so forbidden that
I think it's because they live such a sheltered life all the time, and we heard this from we went on a European cruise a year ago or so throughout the Mediterranean, and we were talking to the bartenders and stuff, and he said, "Yeah, you can always tell the Americans on the cruise ships." He said, because they come in and they lose their mind with the alcohol. They're just drinking nonstop, and they're way overboard. They're drunk, and they're just way overdoing it. And he said, you can tell the difference between the Americans that come on and the Europeans that drink every day and know how to handle their alcohol and know they don't have to get smashed just because all the alcohol is available to
I know
them.
it's free alcohol.
Yeah, so it's like they approach it from two different ways, and the Americans get there and like, oh, I'm finally free to do what I want, and they just go a little overboard.
Yeah, because here in the U.S., you guys don't do open bars. Right?
Open bars?
Yeah.
No, there's no such thing as open bars in the U.S.
like-
generally. It's mostly because of liability issues and lawsuits and stuff that have to do with, driving. Remember, again, in Europe, you're walking a
That's
lot
true.
more everywhere. Here, you're drinking and driving. It's a big difference. You don't drive. You don't walk places in Texas
That's
at
true.
all. So you're driving everywhere. So you're having to also think, okay, I'm drinking. How much am I drinking? Then I have to get back in the car and drive. So it's different. In Europe, you can have a bottle of wine, a whole bottle there, you and your person you're having lunch with or whatever, and then you're just walking back home. And you want to take a nap, you take a nap. Again, it's a different lifestyle, it's a different dynamic, and that's probably has a lot to do with what they're doing and why they are doing it.
Yeah, so I remember when we were watching the first time Emily in Paris.
Yeah,
Emily in Paris.
yes.
She that's one of the things in that show, where she is out for lunch with her boss and
Yeah.
everybody else, and they have a bottle of wine there drinking, and she's shocked by that. And yes, it's such an European thing when you go out. Actually, in Europe, sometimes they have a thing called the menu of the day. For example, in Spain, which is your prefix meal for a lower price, usually in the weeks for people that work, and that includes a beer or a glass of wine or a beverage. But most people have beer or wine with their lunch.
Yeah.
And again,
or
they
a
go-
big table, you get a bottle. Everybody gets a
Yeah.
bottle of wine or whatever.
Everybody drinks bottles of wine, and it's just I don't see kids trying to hide from their parents. I mean, I've seen
Well, also remember over there at 18 they can drink legally.
yes, but also
so the 18 kids are sitting there drinking beers in the afternoon.
But I also have seen kids like 15, 16, maybe having a glass of wine with their parents at dinner, and they're not going. I have never seen people out there like kids all stumbling down the streets or trying to buy liquor. I think they're more trying to buy cigarettes at
Over there? Yeah, absolutely.
like under 18. But alcohol is just not kind of like, oh, it's so forbidden that you have to hide and drink, and it's open that you can drink. And I've seen construction workers,
Yeah.
like government workers, drinking their beer on the street.
Yeah, while they're in the middle of like doing work.
Well, they were like in the little break.
Yeah.
But they have like their beer and they go back to work, and I'm like,
That's a little
maybe
different.
that's not that good, but okay, they can handle it. If you can handle it, why not?
Yeah.
So again, I just think here we're growing in a fragile society where everybody judges you. Everybody wants to control what you're doing. Everybody wants to tell you what to do. But then if you don't do it, they do it. I mean, either if you do it, you're wrong. If you don't do it, you're wrong. So that's why I don't want to have kids in this society. Period. I think that's
All
it.
of that to say I don't want to have kids.
I think so.
But again, if that's your choice, there's nothing wrong with that. Have kids, be a homemaker, have a career, don't have kids.
And if you do
wanna
and you do
both?
all that, congratulations.
Yeah.
You
God love you. How you pull it off.
But
it's all about choice, and it's your choice to do whatever you'd like to do, and there's no shame in either one of those scenarios. And I think we're just saying that I think that other people shouldn't worry so much about what others are doing.
Exactly.
Let everybody else live their own life.
Yeah, live your own life and don't try
and don't
to,
be so judgy.
And don't try to control other people. Just live your life. Period. Live
Yeah.
your life as long as you don't harm anybody.
Yeah.
Just live your life.
That's what freedom is supposed to be about.
That's
is
why
living your own life without bothering others.
Exactly. That's
And let them do what they're
doing.
doing. So please tell us if you have different thoughts. We'd like to know what those thoughts are. If you have comments, you have questions, we'd be happy to go into that more for you. You have to start by liking, subscribing, or following us YouTube, and on every other platform. We have new episodes dropping every Tuesday mornings, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. So please join us and follow this adventure.